Genesis chapter 41. And it came to pass after 2 years of days, Pharaoh saw a dream. He imagined standing at the river, and behold, as if from out of the river ascended 7 oxen, good to the sight and choice in the flesh, and they were grazing in the reed grass. And another 7 oxen ascended after these from out of the river, shameful to the sight, and thin in the flesh, and feeding by the oxen by the edge of the river. And the 7 shameful and thin in the flesh oxen ate up the 7 oxen good to the sight and choice. And Pharaoh arose, and he dreamed the second time. And behold, 7 choice and good ears of wheat ascended in the one lower branch. And behold, 7 ears of wheat, thin and destroyed by the wind, grew up after them. And the 7 thin and destroyed by wind ears of wheat swallowed down the 7 choice and full ears of wheat. And Pharaoh arose, and it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning, and his soul was disturbed, and sending, he called all the expositors of Egypt, and all her wise ones. And Pharaoh described to them his dream. And there was not one reporting it to Pharaoh. And the chief wine taster spoke to Pharaoh, saying, My sin I call to mind today. Pharaoh was provoked to anger against his servant, and he put us under guard in the house of the chief guard, both me and the chief baker. And we saw a dream, both in one night, I and he, each according to his dream saw. And there was there with us a young Hebrew servant of the chief guard, and we described to him, and he interpreted to us. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so also it came to pass, both me being restored to my office, and that one being hanged. And Pharaoh, having sent, called for Joseph, and they led him from the fortress, and shaved him, and changed his apparel, and he came to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have seen a dream, and there is not one interpreting it. But I've heard concerning you, saying, In your hearing dreams, you interpret them. And Joseph, answering to Pharaoh, said, Without God, deliverance shall not be answered to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh spoke to Joseph, saying, In my sleep I imagined standing by the edge of the river, and as if from out of the river ascended 7 oxen, good to the sight and choice in the flesh, and they fed at the reed grass. And behold, another 7 oxen ascended after them from out of the river, in a sorry state, and shameful to the sight, and thin in the flesh, which things I did not see such shameful things in the entire land of Egypt. And the 7 shameful and thin oxen ate up the 7 oxen, the first, the good and the choice, and they entered into their bellies. And it did not become apparent that they entered into their bellies, and their appearance was shameful as also at the beginning. And after awakening I went back to bed. And I saw again in my sleep, even as if 7 ears of wheat ascended in one lower branch, full and good, and another 7 ears of wheat, thin and destroyed by the wind, grew up next to them. And the 7 thin and destroyed by the wind ears of wheat swallowed down the 7 good and full ears of wheat. I told it then to the expositors, and there was not one reporting it to me. And Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dream to Pharaoh is one. As much as God does, he showed to Pharaoh. The 7 good oxen, it is 7 years. And the 7 good ears of wheat, it is 7 years. The dream of Pharaoh is one. And the 7 thin oxen, the ones ascending after them, it is 7 years. And the 7 thin and destroyed by the wind ears of wheat, it is 7 years. There shall be 7 years of famine. And the saying which I have said to Pharaoh, God will do as much to show to Pharaoh. Behold, for 7 years there comes great prosperity in all the land of Egypt. But 7 years of famine shall come after these, and they shall forget the fullness being in all the land of Egypt. And the famine will consume the land, and the prosperity shall not be realized in the land, because of the famine being after these things, for it will be exceedingly strong. And concerning the repeating a second time of the dream to Pharaoh twice, it is because the saying by God will be true, and God will hasten to do it. Now then, look about for a man intelligent and discerning, and place him over the land of Egypt. And let Pharaoh do this, and place toparchs over the land. And let them take 1/5 of all the produce of the land of Egypt, of the 7 years of prosperity. And let them bring together all the foods of these coming 7 years, good, and let them bring together all the foods of these coming 7 good years, and let them bring together the grain under the hand of Pharaoh, foods to be guarded in the cities. And the foods being guarded shall be for the land in the 7 years of the famine, which will be in the land of Egypt. And the land shall not be obliterated in the famine. And the saying was pleasing before Pharaoh, and before all his servants. And Pharaoh said to his servants, Shall we find such a man who has Spirit of God in him? And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Since God showed to you all these things, there is not a man more intelligent and more discerning than you. You will be over my house, and by your mouth all my people shall obey. Except for the throne, I will excel you. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Behold, I place you today over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh, removing the ring from his hand, put it upon the hand of Joseph. And he put on him fine linen apparel, and he put a collar of gold about his neck. And he transported him unto his 2nd chariot. And a herald proclaimed in front of him, and he placed him over the entire land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I am Pharaoh. Without you, not anyone shall lift his hand over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called the name of Joseph Zaphnath Paaneah. And he gave to him Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, priest of Heliopolis, to him as a wife. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went forth from the face of Pharaoh, and went through all the land of Egypt. And the land produced prosperity of sheaves in the 7 years, and was brought together all the foods of the 7 years in which there was prosperity in the land of Egypt. And he put the foods in the cities, foods of the plains of the city, of the places round about it, he put in it. And Joseph gathered together grain as the sand of the sea, much exceedingly, until they were not able to count it, for there was not a number. And to Joseph were born 2 sons, before the coming of the 7 years of the famine, which Asenath bore to him, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of Heliopolis. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God made me forget all my miseries, and all of the things of my father. And the name of the second he called Ephraim, for God increased me in the land of my humiliation. And went by the 7 years of prosperity, which came to pass in the land of Egypt, and the 7 years of famine began to come, as Joseph said. And there became famine in all the earth. But in all the land of Egypt there were breads. And all the land of Egypt hungered, and the people cried out to Pharaoh for breads. And Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, You go to Joseph, and whatever he says to you, you do. And the famine was upon the face of all the earth. And Joseph opened all the granaries, and sold to all the Egyptians. And all the regions came to Egypt to buy from Joseph, for the famine prevailed in all the earth.